The rain had been falling for hours when the Carter family finally reached their new home. It was an old two-story house, standing alone at the end of a narrow road. Michael Carter looked at the house and smiled. "Finally," he said, "our new home." His wife, Sarah, smiled too, but something about the house made her uncomfortable. Their 12-year-old daughter, Emily, stood beside the car, staring at the upstairs window. "Dad," she whispered. Michael turned around. "What?" Emily pointed at the window. There was someone standing there. Michael looked up. The window was empty. "Probably just a shadow," he said. The family carried their bags inside. The house was old, but beautiful. It had wooden floors, a large fireplace, and a long staircase leading upstairs. That night, the family ate dinner together. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. Everyone stopped eating. Sarah looked toward the front door. "Were you expecting someone?" Michael shook his head. "No." He slowly walked to the door and opened it. Nobody was there. Only the sound of rain. Michael closed the door. Then Emily whispered, "Dad, look." On the wooden floor, just outside the door, were 3 wet footprints. They were small, like a child's footprint. Michael stared at them. "Maybe someone came here before we moved in," he said nervously. But Emily shook her head. "They're coming from inside the house." Everyone looked down. The footprints continued from the front door, across the hallway, and stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Nobody spoke. Later that night, everyone went to bed. At exactly 2:13 a.m., Emily woke up. She heard a soft voice coming from the hallway. "Emily." She sat up. Her heart began beating faster. "Emily." The voice came again. It sounded exactly like her mother. Emily opened her bedroom door. "Mom." There was no answer. She stepped into the hallway. The house was completely dark. Then she noticed something strange. The upstairs door at the end of the hallway was slightly open. Emily had never seen the door open before. She slowly walked toward it. Just before she touched the handle, "Emily." She jumped. It was her mother. Sarah was standing behind her. "What are you doing here?" Sarah asked. "I heard you calling me." Sarah's face turned pale. "I was asleep." Emily looked toward the mysterious door. Then Sarah grabbed her hand. "Come with me, now." They hurried back to the bedroom. The next morning, Michael decided to investigate the house. He found an old wooden box hidden inside a closet. Inside were several photographs. They showed a family that had lived in the house many years ago. Michael looked closely at one photograph. There was a little girl standing beside the staircase. Her name was written underneath, Lily. Emily looked at the picture. "That girl looks scared." Sarah picked up another photograph. Her face suddenly changed. "Michael." He looked at her. In the photograph, Lily was standing in front of the upstairs door. Behind her was a dark figure. But the strangest part was the writing on the back. Michael turned the photograph over. There were only 5 words. "Never let her hear your name." Suddenly, a loud sound came from upstairs. Bang! Everyone froze. Michael grabbed a flashlight. "Stay here." He slowly climbed the stairs. Emily followed him. "Dad, wait." When they reached the upstairs hallway, the mysterious door was wide open. Inside was a small empty room. There was only one old chair. And on the wall, hundreds of names were written in black. Michael moved the flashlight across the wall. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold. At the very bottom were 3 fresh names. Michael, Sarah, Emily. Emily covered her mouth. "Dad." Suddenly, the bedroom door behind them slammed shut. Then, a little girl's voice whispered from inside the room. "Emily." Emily turned around. A small girl was sitting on the old chair. Her clothes were soaked. Her hair covered most of her face. She slowly lifted her head. "I've been waiting for you." Michael grabbed Emily and Sarah. "Run." They ran downstairs. But before they reached the front door, every light in the house went out. Then they heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. Coming down the stairs. Step, step, step. Sarah held Emily tightly. Michael reached for the front door, but it wouldn't open. Then, a whisper came directly behind them. "You came here." They slowly turned around. Nobody was there. The lights suddenly came back on. The front door opened by itself. The family ran outside and never looked back. They drove through the rain until they reached a hotel in the nearest town. That night, Michael called the police. The next morning, he asked an old man at a nearby cafe about the house. The old man became silent. "You stayed there?" Michael nodded. The old man looked at Emily. Then he whispered, "That house has been empty for 27 years. Michael frowned. "No. We rented it last week." The old man shook his head. "Impossible." "Why?" The old man pointed toward the road. "Because the family that lived there disappeared 27 years ago." Michael felt his stomach drop. "What family?" The old man answered, "The Carters." Michael's face turned white. "Our family." The old man nodded. "There were 3 of them. A father, a mother, and a little girl named Emily." Emily suddenly grabbed her father's hand. "Dad." Michael looked at her. She was staring at the hotel window. Across the street stood the old house, but they were miles away from it. And in the upstairs window, a little girl was watching them. Emily whispered, "Dad, she's here." The little girl slowly raised her hand and waved. Then the lights inside the house went out. The end.